They say death comes in threes, but in my 72nd year it came in sevens. 7 funerals, 7 caskets, 7 goodbyes. If you've made it past 60, you probably know the quiet loneliness that starts to whisper as more seats at the table go empty. It's not just about losing friends, it's about losing pieces of your own past, your youth, your memories. And in that year, I realized something profound that changed how I look at life now. Each funeral was different. A church bell here, a graveside hymn there, some quiet, some loud. But one thing was the same: regret. Not mine, but theirs. The people left behind, struggling with what they didn't say, what they didn't do, what they postponed thinking there would be more time. That's when I started keeping a little journal I called What I Don't Want to Regret. One funeral was for my friend Margaret, 75, a retired teacher from Ohio. Her family shared stories of how she taught generations of kids, but someone whispered to me, she always wanted to travel after retiring. Never did. It struck me like lightning. Retirement is not a pause button. It's your green light. I remember Margaret vividly. She had a contagious laugh, sharp wit, and a mind always curious. Her dream was Paris. Not just a vacation. She wanted to study art at the Louvre, drink coffee on the left bank, watch the world go by from a Montmartre window. But between family duties, her husband's declining health and her own quiet fears, the trip stayed a dream. She passed before her passport ever got stamped. That story wasn't rare. I started asking around at my community center and church. What's one thing you always wanted to do but didn't? The answers poured in like confessions. Write a novel. Learn Spanish. Reconnect with my sister in Oregon. According to a 2022 Pew Research study, nearly 65% of Americans over 60 say they've given up on a lifelong dream. Why? Fear, finances, illness, or just the belief that it's too late. But here's the truth. Regret hurts more than risk. That's why I wrote down my top 5 regrets in waiting, the one that made my heart pound hardest. I did that first. And research backs this up. The American Psychological Association published findings in 2021 confirming that older adults who actively pursue purpose-filled goals, even small ones, report significantly higher levels of happiness and health. Living with intention doesn't need to mean climbing Everest. Sometimes it's signing up for a watercolor class or calling someone you haven't spoken to in a decade. One of my favorite findings comes from a team at Stanford University's Center on Longevity. They discovered that older adults who regularly engage in activities that stimulate curiosity, creativity, and connection often report better health outcomes, including lower blood pressure, fewer cognitive complaints, and improved emotional well-being. These findings challenged me to stop using age as an excuse. I wrote a list of 20 things I wanted to try, some big, some small. I've now done 10. From cooking an Indian curry from scratch to learning how to use TikTok, still figuring that one out. I've opened a new chapter in my life not because I had to, but because I chose to. Margaret's story helped me realize something else. Joy can be delayed but not denied if we're willing to take action. It's not about what you missed, it's about what you'll still do. Then came John, 69, a quiet man, a widower who passed suddenly. His daughter shared something simple but soul-piercing. Dad used to just sit on the porch, every day, alone. I wish I knew what he was thinking. That stayed with me. Sometimes we disappear before we're gone. We begin to fold into ourselves. We stop engaging, stop dreaming. We tell ourselves it's over. But that's a lie. Neuroscience now shows something different. The concept of neuroplasticity, highlighted in extensive research from the National Institutes of Health, tells us that our brains remain malleable into our 70s and even 80s. We can still learn, still rewire, still become. The old dog can learn new tricks. Motivated by this, I enrolled in a free digital photography workshop at the local library. I hadn't touched a camera in decades. I fumbled with buttons, squinted at the screen, laughed out loud at blurry photos. But I also felt alive. I captured a photo of a cardinal in flight that now sits framed on my kitchen wall. One man, Peter, 68, joined to impress his grandkids. He now teaches a beginner class. We don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. That lesson led me to more action. I joined a Tai Chi group. I started walking with a neighbor every morning. I wrote a letter to an old college friend I hadn't spoken to in 40 years. He wrote back. These weren't grand acts, but they felt monumental. The Harvard study of adult development, the longest-running study on human happiness, confirms that strong relationships, not wealth or fame, are what sustain our well-being over the years. Deep connection is the real fountain of youth. So I started reconnecting. I forgave old grudges. I asked better questions. I sat longer in silence with people who just needed to be heard. One funeral taught me about legacy. Henry, 82, lived alone in a modest apartment. No family came to the service, just a mail carrier, 2 neighbors, and the guy from the coffee shop. But oh, the stories. He'd leave cold drinks for the sanitation crew. He'd tip the paper boy $10 at Christmas. He remembered birthdays. He cared. His legacy wasn't gold. It was goodness. And it made me ask, what will people remember when they remember me? So I made it a practice. Every week I look for one act of unexpected kindness. I write letters. I tell people what they mean to me. Now, not later. A 2020 study by UC Berkeley found that kindness boosts oxytocin and lowers inflammation, especially in older adults. It's good for the heart and the soul. And then came Dolores. She was my last funeral that year. She was 76, radiant, joyful, the type of person who saw beauty in cracked sidewalks and wilted flowers. Her granddaughter said something I'll never forget. She believed that every stage of life had a gift, even the painful ones. That idea changed everything for me, because aging isn't about decline. It's about clarity. It's the stage where we drop the masks, soften the ego, and start asking the real questions. Positive psychology professor Dr. Martin Seligman calls this phase authentic flourishing. It's when people, especially in later life, can reach new levels of gratitude, resilience, and meaning. But we must choose to go there. We must ask ourselves daily, what matters most now? I now keep a journal titled, Today's Brave Thing. Every night I write one moment I chose courage over comfort. Some days it's taking a new class. Some days it's opening my heart. Some days it's simply showing up. I want to be remembered not as the woman who aged, but the woman who lived every year she got. And so can you. So if you're listening to this and you're over 60, or you love someone who is, please hear me when I say, it's not too late. It's never too late to live, to love, to start again. The world may not always see us, but we can see each other. We can choose to be present, to care, to share, to matter. After those 7 funerals, I didn't feel finished grieving, but I did feel something else stirring. A kind of sacred responsibility to do something with the rest of my days. I began asking myself bigger questions. What legacy am I leaving? What stories will people tell about me when I'm gone? More importantly, What stories do I still want to live? In grief counseling circles, there's something called meaning making. It's the process of finding purpose through pain. Dr. Robert Niemeyer, a leading researcher in grief psychology, says that those who find meaning in loss are not only more emotionally resilient, but more likely to experience what's called post-traumatic growth, positive transformation that occurs because of adversity, not in spite of it. That rang true for me. Loss cracked me open, but it also cleared space inside me, a space I decided to fill with intention. So, I asked, what's something I always postponed that I could still do? And the answer was something I hadn't said aloud in years: mentoring. I used to dream of being a life coach or a counselor for older adults. I thought my age would disqualify me, but instead, it qualified me more than ever. I enrolled in an online certification course. At 72, I became a certified peer wellness mentor for aging adults. My first client was a 67-year-old woman struggling with identity after retirement. We talked every week. I listened. She cried. I cried. We laughed. She's now running a community garden and mentoring teen girls in her neighborhood. The ripple effect of one brave yes. You see, we don't stop mattering after 60. We just stop getting marketed to. That doesn't mean we have to disappear. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, older Americans are the fastest growing demographic of entrepreneurs in the country. People 55 to 75 are starting businesses more than any other age group. Why? Because purpose doesn't retire. It reinvents. Even our government recognizes this. The Administration for Community Living, ACL, under the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, has dedicated initiatives aimed at helping older adults stay socially engaged and purposeful. Their 2023 report emphasized the link between meaningful engagement and longevity. It inspired me to volunteer with Meals on Wheels. One man I delivered to, Raymond, 91, said, "I thought everyone forgot I was alive. Then you showed up." That stayed with me. We can be someone's lifeline with a knock on the door. I also started writing essays about my life, nothing fancy, just reflections. But one got published in a senior lifestyle magazine. And wouldn't you know it? I got a letter from a woman in Idaho who said it helped her have a hard conversation with her estranged daughter. That's when I understood. Our stories matter. They are bridges. They are medicine. According to research from the National Institute on Aging, storytelling and personal narrative work help older adults process their lives, reduce depression, and even improve memory. It's not just therapeutic, it's transformative. So I started a storytelling circle at my community center. Every Thursday, 5 of us gather to share one story from our lives. No judgment, just listening. Sometimes the stories are funny. Sometimes they're heartbreaking. But always, they are real. And in those hours, none of us feels invisible. We also started what we call courage challenges. Each week, someone picks something they've been afraid to do. One woman danced in public for the first time. Another called her son after a decade. I wrote a letter to my first love. We're not trying to be fearless. We're trying to be free. Freedom, I've learned, doesn't always come in big moments. Sometimes it's saying no to what no longer serves you. Sometimes it's saying yes before you're ready. And sometimes it's just sitting in your garden, feeling the sun, and knowing, really knowing, that you still belong here. So if you've lost someone, or 7 someones like I have, let this be a gentle nudge. Your life is still unfolding. There are chapters yet to be written, songs yet to be sung, hands yet to hold. You're not behind. You're just beginning a new page. You are still becoming, even now. At the 60+ chapter, we believe in creating a life you love, mainly after 60+ age where not much people and supports are with you. Every story we share is meant to bring hope, knowledge, and tools that help you live better, not just longer. We are here for you, and we'll keep bringing you real stories, practical tips, and trusted advice every day. Don't keep this to yourself. Share this video with someone who needs to listen, or if it simply gave you hope, please take a moment right now to click subscribe. It costs you nothing, but it means everything to us. It helps us reach more people like you, and it keeps the 60+ chapter channel going strong. Let's grow this beautiful community together.